Looking back again out to last week and Macroom Ploughing with Richard Henshin. And Richard also managed to have an interview with Peter Scanlon during the ploughing match, and they were talking all about Machanaglas Mill.
We felt it would be remiss of us to the listeners of LTV while bringing you the local news. We think it will be well worth when we're on this unique site and a picturesque site here on the banks of the River Lee as the river meanders eastwards towards Cork City, that there's a very unique feature situated in the corner of this site. It's an old horizontal mill. But I'm not going to speak in it. I'm going to have a much more learned gentleman here on my left, and I would like to introduce at this stage Peter Scanlon, who is the local historian. Here, Peter is from the neighbouring parish of Kilmurray. Peter is well known, former Rahena man as well, but now domiciled in Bond Temple over in County V. And Peter has some important information to give on this unique feature that's situated. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Peter, who will give us some background to this feature that's situated on the corner of the ploughing site that we're ploughing here today. Peter.
Thanks, Richard. I suppose this site would never come to light except for the flooding of the Lee Valley. In the 1950s, when the ESB decided to flood the Lee Valley and create the dam in Carrigadroid and in Escara, there was about 3,500 acres affected. And within that, then, there was a number of archaeological sites and monuments, and there was a certain rush put on for to have them excavated before the place was flooded. The site we're talking about today here, down on the bottom left-hand corner of this field, was a horizontal mill. It was just on the water's edge, so it escaped the flooding, but there was a fear that it would be damaged by the flooding. So Dr. Fahy from UCC, I think he was doing his masters at the time, came out and excavated. I think he was newly married at the time as well, because his wife was with him here on the site. They excavated the site, but they found out very early on that this was not, the site was marked in the maps as a holy well known as Tubber Bawn, and get its name from the large number of white stones that were surrounded the well, surrounded the site. But when they went to excavate, they found it was not a holy well at all, but it was an archaeological monument. It was a site of a horizontal mill, and it dated back to about the 1600s, which would be quite late. They actually came to Ireland. Actually, the horizontal mills were invented in Greece about the 1st century BC. They spread to parts of the continent, very prominent in Scandinavia and in the Hebrides in Scotland, but not to be found in England. It is believed that they came to Ireland by the Vikings, and probably to Scotland as well. They came to Ireland by the Vikings. A number of them have been excavated in Ireland, but the one here is the best surviving monument of a horizontal mill. And also, I suppose they gave the archaeologists and the historians a lot of extra information about the way the mill was built and the technology, we'll say, using a modern word, of the way it actually worked. The mill, when they came out to see it, that is a photograph taken on the day when they actually came out to see it. That's the photograph as you're taking to see it, and there's a lady sitting up on top of the stone there on top, looking down into the pool of water. Now, I'll just move on there, if that's okay. The camera. Yeah, all left there, right. It's the most complete mill of its kind found in Ireland. Right, okay, I think I've gone away from that page. The next note I have here is the walls of the mill itself. The two side walls that you saw there in the photograph of the lady sitting on top of them, they're 8 foot wide, and they're about 12'3" high. So the actual hole in the ground was 12'3" deep. The walls were 8 foot wide, and they were built of heavy, thick slab stones. Some of them weighing 6 foot or 6'6" in size. The dam to walk the mill was 55 metres upstream. Now we're talking here to Eddie McCall a while ago, and he was telling me that that the mill, there was actually 3 dams on the mill site. There was one further up, a couple of hundred yards upstream, which was not found by Dr. Fahey at the time. There was another one further down, and the last one is the one that I will be mentioning about there. The mill was the dam was 55 yards above the mill. There was a bank built across the valley. It's a valley. There was a dam built across the valley to block the water. There was the walls of the dam were 21 on one side were 20, or both of them was around the same length, 21 feet by 14 feet, and they were 8 foot thick. The water then was diverted from that to the mill through a drain or the water was diverted to the mill through a head race which was 2'6" wide and up to about 2.5 feet, nearly 3 feet deep. The last part of the water, the last part of the drive of the drain of the water was taken to a timber chute, dropping down from the top of the ground level, going down 12 feet.
Just 10 minutes left before the completion of your plot. So 10 minutes and counting downwards. So if you don't want to incur penalties.
Down to the base of the well of the mill. Now I have a drawing here of the mill which probably explains it better than any words I can give. And if you can see, oh sorry, if you can see, hold that after me saying I can find out here. This is what the mill looked like when it was in action. The mill race would be further up that way. The water came down a channel here, a drain. The last part of the water came through a timber chute, much like a modern day eave chute, but it was made of timber. And it was directed down here. These are the high stones that are at the back of the site. Came down here. There was a hole, and the timber rested on the bottom flag, went through the hole in these flagstones, and the wheel was here, based at the very bottom of the well, vertical. If one could imagine, anyone that was familiar with seeing the old horse-cart wheels, the timber wheels with the iron shods in them, that's what they looked like, but it didn't have the iron bend. The wheel was sitting like a spinning top on a plank of timber on the ground. There was a shaft going up from this to the mill. When the water came down, it touched the wheel and it spun it around. In turning this shaft, they went up here, and there was one stone. This is the timber part. This will be the timber floor of the mill, which will be over what looks like a well at the moment. This will be covered with this timber floor. This timber shaft went up, and it turned the top stone. There was an iron bar went up through the middle stone, and it turned the top stone around to grind the grain. There was a hopper of some description here that was used to feed the grain into the centre hole of the stone. But they also found that there was a wear in the stone, the edge of the stone, when they examined the stone, and they found that there must have been some attachment onto the hopper that touched the stone, and that as the stone went around, the roughness of the stone shook the hopper and fed the grain into the hole in the middle, and then the grain came out here on the two sides onto the ground. That was the basic thing of the mill, but then they went a little bit further, and when they developed a system where they could change the grain, the size of the flour that was being ground, and they actually had this spinning wheel was sitting on top of a plank that had a hole in the centre, and this plank came out here. There was another shaft coming up here, right up to the floor into the mill again, and by a system of lever system here, they could raise or lower the shaft. In other words, could rise the stone here to give a coarser grind or a finer grind. The bottom stone here, this is a drawing of the bottom stone. There had these two collars of timber collars put around the shaft for to prevent the grain from dropping down through the stone down to the bottom of the mill into the water. I suppose on a general scale, this was like a timber eave shoot. Can you get that? The timber eave shoot. The last short bit of it here wasn't cut out like an eave shoot. It was actually a whole cut in the timber, and there was just a second now, and this is what looking at the end of the timber would look like. As you looked at the end of it, this is what it looked like. So that actually the water went through. Sorry, this is looking at the end of it. This is where the water actually came through. It was slightly funneled like this. There was a slight slit on the timber. Now they thought first that the slit was accidental split, but then they discovered that that was put deliberately to put a spray in the water, a jet of water that would actually cover a wider area when it hit the wheel. Then it was coming just as a straight spout of water. This would be the other side of the stone of the wheel. No, what else have I done? Most of I left there is the wheel. The wheel. This is what the wheel would have looked like when it was in action. Each of the spokes of the wheel, there was no outer rim. They had these little blocks at the end of each pedal. There was a groove cut in each of them for the water to catch, to turn it around. The way the wheel was made is that each spoke was put in, each paddle was put in, mortised into the centre of the wheel, and a dowel put through it to keep it in place. And they did that to each one all around until they came to the last one. Now it isn't described in this drawing, but the way they did the last one then is that they joined the two of these together, and that kept in the last one rather than the other one. There was another similar mill excavated up I think in County Antrim, my Craig in County Antrim, and they did not have these blocks at the end, and it is believed that these blocks were put on to give the effect of a flywheel, like the flywheel in an engine, that it actually added to the smoothness of the running of the wheel. This is a drawing taken from the actual drawing of the actual parts of the wheel that were found in the bottom of the thing when the bottom of the site when they excavated, and you can see some of the pedals had been worn back from time. Now, I mentioned there a while ago about the way they raised and lowered the mill wheel to change the grinding of the flour. Now, if you can see this would have been the bottom of the floor sitting down like that on the ground, but it's up for you to see it. This was the spot where the mill wheel rested, the spindle where the wheel turned. Can you see this? This is where the spot where the wheel. It would be flat now, so I'm holding it up. So it would be flat. Now, there are 3 holes. Now, the only explanation the archaeologist could come to was that the millwright, when he was building this mill site, that he experimented with different positions on the timber to get the best effect of the supply of the speed, to get the right speed, that the water would get the right speed on the wheel. The mill wheel, to get the right speed up to grind, they had to get a speed of 150 and 180 revs per minute, and this was possible with about 2 or 3 feet head of water behind the mill race. I think that's about all. These are some of the stones that were found outside. This is the top stone, the grinding stone. That's the underside of it, and that's the top of it. I think that's, am I right? The iron bar came up through the middle. There was a bar across here. This is only measuring, give you the idea of the size. That's 12 inches or a foot. There was a bar across here which gripped the stone to turn it around in the stone. It's very hard to explain these because these are broken stones that were also found on the site. We're back again to the original one there. Are there anything else on the slabs of stone at the back of the wall? The first slab was 9 feet by 8 inches thick, and it was 4 foot 2 inches high. The second slab, again, each of the slabs, there's 3 slabs, each were 9 feet by 8 inches thick, but they varied in thickness. One was 2 foot. One was 4'2", the other one 2'10", the other 2'3". That's the thing. All I have on that. These, if you can see it there, now can you see it or not? They're the slabs of stone I'm talking about. The water would have come out here below and out through a hole in the flag and turn the wheel. If one is down on the site this evening and look at it, you will see that up here on one of these stones there's another hole, and they don't know what that hole was for. They believe that it was probably cut for some other purpose and that the stone was reused. This is a drawing of the similar type of mill in Bunrahy, a working mill in Bunrahy. Again, they're much the same design. The only difference here is that they have a stone or a steel or a metal socket here to save the end of the wheel from wearing. That is the chute that the water came through and came through this hole here to turn the wheel. Can you?
So basically, the water came cascading down here from
at a 30-degree angle. Interesting. No, I can't back this up. I don't have it. I didn't really check it out recently, but I was told many years ago by a historian that the angle, the 30 degrees this was, that the Siemens engineers, when they were building in Escara Dam and Carrigadroy Dam, the electric generators use the same principle. They're horizontal drill. They use the same principle, but they used actually the same angle for the water, 30-degree angle for the water. I'm not sure whether that's correct or not, but that's what I've been told. I think that's about all I have to say on it. I think I'll call down there to the site in a few minutes, and if anybody wants to be there, I'll be around the site for a few minutes if you want to. Okay?
Right, Peter, thanks ever so much for that very detailed description of this unique feature, of which is the only one of its kind down here in County Cork. If people want to see a real one in operation, obviously they'll have to travel to the southwest all the way up to Bunratty Folk Park to see one. I suppose little do we realise, and I know my people settled in the farm just over the Bounds Ditch in a place called the Castle Farm in Moshanaglass, and little did I know that across the Bounds Ditch that there was this unique artefact which was of major significance to the people of the time in the century. It was quite a modern plant, and its uniqueness and the simplicity of it, basically harnessing the water power. And I suppose maybe, pardon the pun, that the wheel has come full circle, where we have now gone back to trying harvesting wind power using the wind, and water power with generators and things are all being looked at, and more so in a time of recession. And I know that we will recover from the recession. It may take a few years, but I think we have a lot of brain power and a lot of people and young people that are highly educated, and if we can harness and all work together, we will dig this country back out of recession by using all the resources that are at our disposal, and at this stage, maybe if they can make it down today, I'm sure Creedon would have no objection if people want to see this unique feature during the summer when the weather is good. It's a lovely place to be on a fine day overlooking the River Lee. So Peter, yeah. So Peter, thanks ever so much for giving of your time. I know you had this well researched during the Christmas, but unfortunately we had to postpone you, and we hope that your listeners have got a better insight to how this unique water mill worked of its kind. So Peter, thanks ever so much. Before I conclude, you have probably heard in the background there, ladies and viewers, what the final hooter to signify that the competition is now over. Judges will now move in and make the very hard decisions of who have been awarded the bonus points and the points, because today is a crucial day in the competition of West Cork Ploughing, because there are some places on the county team that are up for grabs, and a win today means a lot of points and could nudge you further to wearing the Cork West jersey as we move to the national ploughing later on in the fall of the year in late September. So conditions have been idyllic here today. We're grateful to all the competitors, of which we have 60 in total. We're also grateful to our hard-working committee who have left no stone unturned, even though we're cancelled, but also to our landowner, the Creedon family, who have given of the site here today. So results have more horsepower here today. Literally we see a horse in the distance pulling out the white, pair of horses pulling the white van. So I think we're going back to traditional power that we spoke about earlier. The results will be announced later on, and we'll give the results, and we have entertainment laid on and refreshments in Coolcour. The ploughmen will be treated to lunch, evening meal in Coolcour, and we thank Casey's of Coolcour House for giving of their premises and for looking after the committee and our ploughing people here today. So